to the mayor and to
this for We've been doing this for about 10 years, and as you've probably just heard, this is being recorded, not only for ourselves, but we will also be sharing with others that perhaps can't join us this morning. We do have more than 180 registrants, and folks will be joining us throughout the morning. We've got some great speakers, some great partners, and in a moment you're going to hear from some of them. On behalf of our President and CEO, David Whitaker, who couldn't join us today, he's been asked to say some words at the Greater Miami Chamber Goals Conference, but he obviously sends his regards and more importantly, sends his urgency in terms of what we can do as partners to ensure that we are as prepared as possible for the upcoming hurricane season. Our partnership includes the City of Miami Beach, and in a moment you're going to hear from the manager, the mayor, and their EOC department. It's also an amazing partnership with Miami-Dade County. So I'd like to kick it off with a message from Mayor Daniella Levine Cava. So with that, Ali, my colleague, please roll the video.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you virtually as another hurricane season begins. I want to thank our partners at the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Greater Miami and Beaches Hotel Association, and of course, our colleagues from the City of Miami Beach. I'm especially grateful to our hospitality leaders who play a key role in our hurricane readiness strategy. When a storm arrives, you care for your guests while protecting the lifeblood of our local economy. Here in Miami-Dade, we know how unpredictable and dangerous hurricanes can be, but we also know that preparation can save lives and property, ensuring we bounce back faster. That's why we're here today, to remind everyone that there are simple, effective ways to keep your teams, guests, and facilities safe. The first day of hurricane season was just a few days ago. If you haven't started preparing yet, now is the time. First, stay informed. Accurate information saves lives before, during, and after a storm. You can sign up for alerts at miamidade.gov by typing alerts in the search bar and download our Ready Miami-Dade app, which is free and available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. Lastly, be sure to follow our official county accounts on social media or call 311 for updates. Next, be storm ready. Our severe weather and emergency readiness guide is being delivered to households across the county and is also available online at miamidade.gov/hurricane. It includes checklists, tips on protecting property, and information like what supplies to have on hand, all to help people and businesses get ready. Finally, make a plan. Find out if your business or home is in a flood or evacuation zone. If you need to evacuate guests, think, where will they go and how will we get them there? Our county's Department of Emergency Management has detailed tools to walk you through it all. This and every hurricane season, we're proud to work hand in hand with our hospitality partners to build stronger, more resilient systems that protect residents and visitors alike. And our work doesn't just stop at hurricanes. Let's remember that in Miami-Dade, we also are in our extreme heat season and flooding season. Our county works around the clock to prepare for all of these inclement weather events and to keep our community not just hurricane ready, but weather ready. Thank you for your partnership and your commitment to a safer, more prepared Miami-Dade.
Thank you. And I know we're being continuously joined. So between myself, my colleague Richard, and Ali, we'll keep letting folks into from the waiting room. We work closely with the mayor that you just heard. Obviously, our county is made up of 34 different municipalities. But there is one municipality that I think we would all agree that is at the epicenter of our critically important tourism industry. And we work closely with the City of Miami Beach on a variety of issues, and perhaps you'll hear from our colleagues in a moment. But I did want to bring up Eric Carpenter. He is the city manager for Miami Beach, and I would consider him a friend as well, a friend of our industry, a friend of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we're so excited that he is now leading the City of Miami Beach as its manager, especially on topics so critically important as hurricane preparedness. So with that, let me defer to Eric to say a few words. Eric?
Thank you, Rolando. And I'd like to thank you and the GMCVB as well as Curtis, Crider, and the GMBHA for their ongoing support and partnership. Miami Beach, as everyone knows, is a world-renowned destination, welcoming visitors from across the globe. With that privilege comes a profound responsibility we must be prepared for, both the predictable challenges of hurricane season and the unexpected events that can arise at any moment. As a city, we're strong, collaborative, and deeply engaged. We remain committed to ensuring that our business community, including our hotels, restaurants, and attractions, are fully equipped with the tools, information, and resources necessary to keep residents, staff, and guests safe. Resilience isn't just a goal, it's an ongoing commitment to preparation and recovery. Conferences like this are an essential part of that ongoing effort. They complement the year-round work being done across our city departments to maintain a constant state of readiness. As this past wet week reminded us, preparedness isn't something we think about only during hurricane season. It's something we focus on every single day. To maintain our standing as a world-class city, we remain in a constant cycle of planning, testing, implementing, evaluating, and improving. Readiness is not a one-time activity, it's a continuous practice. I am so grateful for the support of the Mayor and City Commission, which allows my administration to work year-round on strengthening our emergency response strategies. But I especially want to recognize the more than 2,300 city employees whose dedication and behind-the-scenes work keep our systems running, our communications clear, our stormwater flowing, and ultimately our city safe. Their collaboration and commitment are what make Miami Beach strong. On June 17th, Miami Beach will host a multi-jurisdictional tabletop exercise focused on coastal hurricane scenario, specifically how we protect hotel guests in the face of a potential storm. This exercise will bring together coastal communities from Key Biscayne to Sunny Isles Beach and as far as Hollywood and Hallandale Beach, as well as Miami-Dade and Broward counties, and municipalities like the City of Miami and Coral Gables. We'll be reviewing existing plans, identifying any gaps in coordination or services, and enhancing our collective ability to respond effectively under clear skies before we're tested by stormy ones. I want to thank you for being here today and for recognizing the importance of this work. Your input, questions, concerns, and partnership are not only welcome, they're vital. Please make sure that the city has your organization's current leadership contact information. We rely on up-to-date communication in times of crisis. You'll receive guidance on how to update those records at the conclusion of today's meeting. It's also important to remember that we're a community, not just Miami Beach or Miami-Dade County, but throughout Florida. And when any of us are facing challenges, we need to lock arms and address them together. Together, we will continue to prepare, adapt, mitigate, and ultimately thrive, no matter what comes our way. And now it is my true pleasure to introduce the Honorable Mayor of Miami Beach, Stephen Miner.
Thank you, Eric and Rolando. Eric, thanks for all your help in doing all the things like that you mentioned. 2,300 employees under your watch, so it's a lot of work. But I'm proud to serve as the mayor of our city. We welcome millions of visitors each year. Miami Beach is known around the world for its beauty, energy, hospitality, and anyone who knows me a little bit or has followed me knows that my top priority is working with our police department and working with the hoteliers and all our stakeholders to ensure that our streets are safe, our city maintains its reputation as a welcoming destination, but a safe destination. And spring break, Memorial Day, were fantastic. Last week at the GMCVB meeting, I cited the stats that GMCVB provided us. We were the highest in the first 4 months of 2025, the highest in the nation, Miami Beach, in average hotel room rate. And other categories as well, and it's not even close. We're at like 357 a night. The next is 284. So we the reputation is there. Where people know that you come here, you're gonna have a great time, and it's gonna be safe. But that's also why hurricane preparedness is so important. Preparedness is key. Information is power. It's critical that you and all of us stay informed, so we can keep our guests informed. On just a quick personal anecdote, over 20 years ago, before I lived in Florida, in Miami Beach, lived in New York, my wife and I came down, and timing was such that it was a hurricane watch. It turned into a bad tropical storm, but we actually stayed at the Eden Rock at the time, and they were fantastic. Given the power, the information was constantly flowing, and I'm sure all of you have that plan in place. But I could tell you, as a visitor, not really understanding how to get the best information, especially 20 plus years ago, it was critical in keeping us informed. But even though I usually save thank yous for last, this is so important. I want to recognize the excellent partnerships that make this all possible. We're proud in the city of Miami Beach to work hand in hand with the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Greater Miami and Beaches Hotel Association, and of course our partners in Miami-Dade County Emergency Management, and our own Division of Emergency Management here, with along with our fire department, police department, and many other dedicated professionals. We're working not just during hurricane season, but year round to ensure that we're ready for any storm or emergency. But as I was mentioning, we do really rely on you, our hospitality community. So critical, especially when there are visitors who are not in tune and may not fully appreciate the risks that a storm can bring us. And your commitment to preparedness, coordination, guest safety is so critical to our overall success, especially during the next months during hurricane season. You're literally on the front lines and making sure that all of our guests to Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County are informed and protected. And on that front, we talked about safety. Again, Memorial Day, spring break. I know an issue that we used to hear a lot about, less so, but still somewhat, addressing our homelessness, helping our homeless population, which we do. We spend millions of dollars to provide services, but also enforcing our laws to make sure that we don't have encampments or people sleeping on the street. And Miami Beach has continued to strengthen our role as a global hub for culture, entertainment, hospitality. We have the Convention Center Hotel that's going to be coming online by 2027, which I think is going to help our entire city. We've hosted and continue to host world-class events. We support community program. We make and investments in so many different areas, but really public safety, infrastructure, and of course, what we're talking about today, emergency response capabilities. I'm looking ahead. I know we're all looking ahead for literally the biggest sporting event in the world. And being an American football fan, the Super Bowl, but actually the FIFA Club World Cup is bigger than anything. And we're very fortunate that we're going to get to host the FIFA World Cup next summer. And of course, events coming up. Literally, we're on the eve of some major events here as well, which will be a nice precursor. But these events bring players, officials, and fans from around the globe to Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County. And we're already working closely and supporting planning efforts with Miami-Dade County, our regional partners, and as I mentioned, our police, fire, emergency management teams are actively engaged, making sure these events are safe. There's going to be a lot of local watch parties, and certainly a lot of that's going to take place in our hotels and restaurants and different venues that are going to be joining in the celebration, and we're definitely prepared. As Eric mentioned, we're going to host a multi-jurisdictional tabletop exercise to simulate a major hurricane during an international event. So we're testing that, making sure that we're prepared to keep our visitors and residents safe. We're not only thinking, we're planning, we're taking action to plan for everything. But I just want to finish off, and they're not just words. We're so reliant on our hospitality industry, but it's not just a revenue generator, which obviously is so important, but we thank you for being hospitality leaders in every sense of the word, for the year-round dedication that you provide to Miami Beach. You make Miami Beach better, just not only for our tourists, but for our residents as well. You provide unforgettable experiences for our visitors that literally going to last a lifetime. And I know you take your preparedness responsibilities very seriously. So truly thank you for that. I'm always available. Our city's available. If you have any questions, if there's anything more we can do as a city, we want to be doing that. But we are known for many things, Miami Beach, but certainly preparedness, safety, and our beautiful, beautiful city and first class, literally elite hotels and restaurants is what makes us so special. So thank you again, and God bless.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks again for joining us at our event last week. And he's got the stats right. I mean, Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County are leading the country on a lot of the key metrics that hotels participate. Another little sidebar, he spoke about a lot of amazing events. I know baseball is his primary passion, and he can throw some heat from the mound, but it looks like we're going to teach him a couple of soccer tricks along the way. Are you open for that, Mayor?
I'm open. I did a first pitch. Maybe I could do a first kick or something.
Well, stay tuned. Lots more to follow that. But, uh, he mentioned the word residents, and I know that we're all in the tourism business. People think, of course, visitors at the top of the list. But if we work together, and especially with the mayor of the city of Miami Beach and the county, and especially on the safety front, and make our community a better place to live, work, and play for our residents, it's going to be a better place to visit for our tourists. And they are intrinsically tied together. So the measures that the city and the county have been taking to make this community better for our residents helps us sell it to the world for tourists. So thank you for that. And I want to again, thank our partners at the Hotel Association. You may have heard, some of you may have heard earlier. We've been doing this for about 10 years. This hurricane preparedness workshop. It's been in partnership with the Hotel Association. So I do want to recognize the prior president, Wendy Kalergis. She retired just a few months ago, and we're blessed that the new president of the Greater Miami Beaches Hotel Association is a friend, a dear friend personally. He's a friend of the industry, former general manager of hotels, attractions. We're ecstatic that Curtis Crider, who was serving in an interim capacity for a while, is now officially the president and CEO of the Greater Miami Beaches Hotel Association. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce him to share a few words. Curtis?
Rolando, thank you very much. That was an amazing introduction, and special thanks to you and your entire team and your continued support and leadership. Earlier as we head into the hurricane season, this is really our opportunity, hoteliers, to come together, make sure that our efforts and we're fully prepared. We're fortunate to have, again, the attention of everybody here. Thank you very much. Our mayors, our government officials, our emergency management team, the city of Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County, and all of the individuals that put us back together, including FP&L. To all of our hotel industry, hoteliers and industry partners, preparation today it's not an option, ladies and gentlemen. It's essential. The steps we take today will directly impact how we can protect our guests, our teams, and also our property owners tomorrow. So as we see with the devastation last year on the West Coast, even suppliers face major challenges during and after the storm. Deliveries are delayed. Critical items become scarce, and this is why it's critical and crucial to secure your necessary supplies and resources early. For example, you can never have too much water or batteries or potentially the backup fuel for your generator on hand. At the past general managers, those general managers on the call today and your executive teams, let's make sure we have those comprehensive plans in place. You should account for your employees who support us, your leadership teams, and your ownership groups. Encourage your staff as well to prepare at homes. Their safety and peace of mind are just as important and keep us going every single day. Make sure your HR departments have that up-to-date contact emergency information for all of them, and that everybody knows that communication protocol in the event of the storm. Obviously, they'll be making that call and want to know when they need to get back to work to support us. Throughout the good and challenging times we've had here in Miami-Dade County, our hospitality industry and our industry in general has always shown resiliency, leadership, and a deep commitment to preparedness. So let's continue to lead by example and remain proactive and not reactive. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a trusted partner, Ryan Phillips, evening meteorologist for NBC6. If you wouldn't mind, Ryan, I just want to indulge a little bit about you. Ryan Phillips has been forecasting weather since 2003, joining NBC6 weather team in 2005. Before moving to South Florida, he spent 2 years in Southwest Florida at WZVN in Naples and Fort Myers, where he tracked the landfall of Category 4 Charlie in 2004. That experience prepared him for that intense 2005 hurricane season we had here in South Florida, where we were both impacted by Katrina and Wilma. And since then, Ryan has guided us through major storms like Matthew in 2016, Irma in 2017, Dorian in 2019, Eta in 2020, and Ian and Nicole in 2022. He holds the seal of approval from the National Weather Association as a certified broadcast meteorologist with America Meteorologist Society. Beyond forecasting, Ryan and his family fund a national scholarship for undergraduate meteorologist students, continue to give back. He's also committed to the community outreach and often speaks to schools and associations such as ours about weather and awareness and hurricane preparedness. So please welcome me in joining Ryan Phillips. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, Curtis, thank you. Thanks for that introduction and reeling out my resume there. This marks my 20th year in South Florida on TV at NBC6. And, this presentation, if you've been in South Florida, whether as a resident or an employee in in this industry since 1992, you'll find this interesting. If you've been in South Florida since 2005, this will be interesting. But I really want to key on employees and residents that have been here since 2018. And I'm going to illustrate why I think that's important. I want you to hang on. I love seeing how many participants we have today. Well over 100. What I challenge you to do is to multiply this message to other folks, as Curtis had mentioned, at the hotel level, on your executive team, reviewing your plans, and just to amplify this message in your properties and those that surround you, because preparedness is the only way we can navigate through a storm impact, and more importantly, how we'll get back on our feet afterwards. So why did I mention all those years as benchmarks? Well, let's just dial back in the last few years. Just since 2020, start of the COVID times when everything was uncertain and tourism was shaky, and we're still trying to navigate through that. 4 hurricanes passed within 200 miles of Miami. If any of you have any relationships with folks in Southwest Florida, maybe you remember how it felt when Ian made landfall in Lee County and how devastating that was. Again, in a radius of 200 miles, a lot of activity nearby, but not coming to Miami. All right, so let's widen that out a little bit. Let's go back to 2017. That's the last time that we prepared for a hurricane in South Florida. One bullet point I make in all my presentations is we have the perception in Miami, in Homestead, Miami Beach, Fort Lauderdale, that we went through a hurricane in 2017 with Irma. The Florida Keys went through a hurricane. We prepared for a hurricane, and we went through and sustained tropical storm force winds for a period of time. Yes, we had impacts. Yes, we had damage, but that was not a hurricane. So we don't want that to be the benchmark in which folks prepare, because that was not truly indicative of what a pressing hurricane into South Florida would deliver. All right, let me go back to 2005. That was the last time a hurricane made landfall in South Florida, 20 years ago in August. That was Katrina. And that was a storm that started as a tropical depression, became a tropical storm, and then intensified to a hurricane before it made landfall and then tracked awkwardly southwest through Miami-Dade County. High impact event and what was an extremely busy season. So that's why I mentioned 1992, Andrew, 2005, Katrina. But ever since, somehow, we've been able to skate. So since 2005, we've had 41 storms pass within 200 miles of Miami. We can't keep doing that forever. Eventually, our number will be called. I don't know when, but it just amplifies the importance of why we have to go into every season believing that this may be the year and we need to be ready. So for all these years that nothing happens, we can't let that lull our sense of safety. Sherry and Cherry will be delivering all the really essential bullet points of preparation. Just want to talk about the season kind of as a whole. As the mayor had mentioned, it just started last weekend, June 1st. And there are 3 bullet points that we may take away for hey, what kind of season is it going to be? When we look at the atmospheric and global patterns, we're in a neutral phase. I'll explain what that means in just a minute. Of course, we have our warm sea surface temperatures as part of the equation, and also the enhanced West African monsoon. We don't talk about that a lot. So I just want to say, what is it? Well, what's going to happen is if you have a garden, if you're a gardener or you like to plant flowers and watch your property bloom, the more seedlings you put out there, maybe the better success you're going to have, especially if the weather's right and the soil's right. and you have all the ingredients there. Well, the West African monsoon, if it's enhanced later in the summer, what we're going to do is offer the tropical Atlantic more seedlings to develop storms. And so that may be favorable later in the summer. So that's something we're going to watch. Of course, the traditional things we like to talk about, El Nino, La Nina neutral, what's the deal? Well, El Nino, we want El Nino years. El Nino years provide more wind shear, which is prohibitive to tropical systems developing. This year, we're going to be in likely a neutral phase. So that's a really overwhelming graphic. But the bottom line is, in the peak of the hurricane season, when we get into August, September, October, we're likely going to be in a neutral phase, which is still quite conducive to tropical development. 2005, 2004, remember 4 and 04? Those were neutral seasons. Last year, we went into the 2024 season talking about how ridiculously warm the sea surface temperatures were just at the beginning of the season, and it only blossomed from there. The bullet point of good news I have going into this season is that we're just not quite as warm. We've been trending at or slightly below average in these areas of the tropics, so that's a good place to be. Now, however, closer to home, we're already warmer than average. So some places to watch that have better ingredients than others, but trying to balance that out, we think that we're on track for a slightly above average season. And the official forecast from NOAA states that we're at a 60% chance for an above average season. So NOAA calling for 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. And then we flip back to Colorado State, who will update their forecast for the season next Wednesday. And I'll be proud to stop by with our friends in downtown at the GMCVB to present. And we'll see if these numbers change, but 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. So it's above average, okay, but it's not explosive as we've seen in the last 5-6 years with, in some seasons, near record storm development. Keep in mind, there are no forecasts out there that can predict or do speak to where systems may make landfall. This is only speaking in terms of total activity. But whether or not it's a below average season or an above average season, we have to keep that in mind, that it's kind of irrelevant. It's interesting. It gets people involved. It gets people thinking about hurricane season. But again, the old mantra, if it only takes one, is so true. Quickly, you know, it's so important now. We have so many outlets for information sharing, but you still have to be very selective about where you get your weather information. You're all very intelligent people. You have businesses to run. You have guests to take care of, and you know the right channels. But it's so easy for information to be spread, misconstrued, projected in a light that may not be completely tied to reality or the possible outcomes. So it's very important that we consider what is our true risk and communicating that risk. This is an example of a computer model run that was 3 days before Irma. It really got our attention, but with no context, what does that mean to us? So again, we have to deliver, we have to take the message, own the message, convey the risk, and prepare all of our members, community members, and of course our guests. And I love hearing the mayor's story about being at the Eden Rock and the constant flow of communication. I think that's just really what we want to deliver every hurricane season. A few more things. I want you to count on yourself to be ready. That's why we're here today. But at a personal level, you know, your safety and your preparedness is on you, and don't leave that to chance. Especially don't leave that to the last minute. It's already stressful enough to be thinking about a storm coming our way. So magnify that with waiting in line at Publix, trying to find fuel, going to the ATM, getting your prescriptions, Home Depot lines. That takes it over the top in terms of burden of stress you'll put on yourself. If you take a little bit of time now to review your safety plan and your materials, you'll be so much better off. And the strength of your personal and professional network before, during, and after a storm is the key to how we recover as a community. Our emergency managers work tirelessly. They prepare, they train. So when we have to meet the moment, that is where we want to turn to because they are ready. Their social feeds give you everything you need to know. Of course, if we get closer to a storm, I know there are constant meetings, constant communication. But those building blocks will lead to a successful outcome in the event a storm comes our way. Last thing I want to say, I know that we've had budget cuts and moves made to slim down operations within the National Weather Service and NOAA. I can tell you with my relationships with the National Weather Service in Miami, in Key West, the National Hurricane Center in Miami-Dade, they may be short a few folks. Their mission is still steady. They're completing the job. Not one thing has been missed. They're determined to get through the season, whether or not there is any concern about them being able to effectively execute the mission. They are staffed to levels that will allow them to do that, and we should have full faith in the forecasts and the products that are being produced. I'll drop my email there at the bottom. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, or if I can help you in any way. So with that, Curtis, thank you for the introduction. I'll hand it off from here.
Ryan, thank you so much. And again, I don't think we can do a round of applause via Zoom. I think we can do thumbs up or some other reactions, because we truly, truly appreciate you being part of this for so many years. And frankly, we also appreciate your quick update on what the potential impact has or has not been to some of our local weather forecasting services. I know there's a lot of conversation out there, and more is generally better, but it's nice to hear that you feel, from your professional perspective, it feels that we'll be okay and that it won't negatively impact our forecasting ability. So thank you so much for that. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Sherry Capers from Miami-Dade County's Emergency Operations. And just to let you know, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, we literally have a seat at the Miami-Dade County EOC. We're there alongside FPL, Red Cross, other institutions. Our role is to work closely with the Hotel Association, especially on the needs of the hotel guests, and also on the hotel needs for potentially first responders and others that are looking for accommodations. So, just want to thank the hotels in advance, because when needed, we will reach out to you for some of those special needs. Now, I do also know some of us has joined a little bit late after we started. To reiterate, please drop your questions in the chat. We will have a Q&A session, and this session is being recorded, and we'll also get that out to as a follow-up to all the other folks that couldn't join us today. So please, my colleague Richard and Allie will be monitoring the chat for any questions, and then we'll bring that up at the end if they are not answered in the following presentation from Sherry Capers or Shari from the City of Miami Beach. So with that, let me introduce Sherry Capers. She is the Risk and Recovery Bureau Manager for the Miami-Dade County Department of Emergency Management. So Sherry, take it away. Sherry, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just gonna share the way they taught me to. Perfect, I did it. I might be an emergency manager, but I'm not that technical. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. As Rolando said, I'm Sherry Capers. I'm with the Miami-Dade Department of Emergency Management. And I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we prepare for, and we'd love to make sure that you're prepared for as we continue on into this hurricane season. A lot of the things that are in my presentation, I am very excited to hear that they have been spoken already by Mr. Phillips, Rolando, the mayor, Mr. Crider, with my glasses that look like an N, and I was just going to call you by your first name. Easier for me, because it means that folks are listening, they're spreading our message, and that's very, very important that the message gets spread. So I'm going to start with, here's some of the, oh, I'm sorry, that's a little typo there. Here are some of the scenarios that we try and make sure that the community, visitors, residents are actually preparing for. As you can see, we have hazmat because we do have a Turkey Point nuclear power plant here in our area. The pretty little hurricane, wildfires, which we just finished going through. We are a multi-agency coordinating entity. We are a central command and control facility, which means that when a countywide disaster happens, we have the different responder agencies, whether they're public safety, infrastructure, or nonprofit, which also includes our municipalities and some of our state, local, federal agencies and colleges, universities, come to that area so that we can coordinate, plan, and make sure that the best decision is being made and the appropriate resources are there for when a disaster does happen. Again, this is just a quick look of some of the things that we plan for and respond to or help coordinate responses for on a regular basis. Special events, flooding, as you can see that poor SUV in the corner, building collapse from terrorism, and just regular unfortunate building collapse, which we recently had to respond to and work with the Surfside incident. It's important, as was mentioned a little earlier, to know your planning zone. You work in an area where storm surge is possible. As you can see from the map, they're colored. The beach is in B, doesn't mean you won't get evacuated or asked to evacuate. And parts of the beach is also in red. So you need to, whether you only work in the beach, but you may live somewhere else, it's important that you know your zone. So storm surge is one of the greatest risks to life and property that we really like to stress for folks. It's the primary reason that we ask residents to evacuate. When there's notification of a threat and we start to track, we try to make sure that you're aware of where you're at. And we have several tools in which we advertise for you to be able to keep track of those things. This is just a quick look of what it means to have storm surge, which is, wind pushing water. I'm not gonna even pretend to be the meteorologist, especially when we have one on the call. There are myths that what's going on with this? There we go. There are myths that people have. I need to move my little view here. It's covering my words. We hear this all the time. My neighborhood never floods, so I don't really need to evacuate. The truth is that hurricanes very rarely just hit one spot. We all know that. And you can not get something this system 5-10 years down the line. Next thing you know, you're inundated with water, severe flooding. Another a really big one is, it's just a category 1, it's no big deal. Okay, the example that we have down here is, Hurricane Sandy was started as a Hurricane 1, and we saw what it did. The same thing with Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Harvey devastated Southeast Texas, and we don't need folks to learn lessons that way. It's just important that you are prepared and you heed the warnings when they're given out to you. As hotel operators, CEOs, owners, and staff, you should make sure that you have your continuity of operations plan in place. And Sherry, after me, will go into that a little bit more. Just as important is to make sure that your hotel has generator capability of running the lights, some part of the air conditioning system, hot water, the elevator, making sure that as a business, you have your business interruption insurance, and any type of memorandum of understanding or agreement with inland hotels if you move your guests, from one hotel to the next to get them out of danger. It's important at this time, really before this time, that you've shored up those agreements, making sure that they're still in existence and making sure that everyone is on the same page. When an evacuation is called for and you have to evacuate visitors, there are different ways in which you can do that. This is just a simple picture of the airport, the roadway, as ways in which you're able to evacuate your visitors. Some hotels may have agreements with rideshare programs, which is also a great option as well. The point is that evacuations take a long time, and you need time to evacuate your hotel guest if an evacuation is called for. We do recommend that you do not evacuate your hotel guests or your tourists into evacuation centers. It's all about the guest experience, right? Just like Disney, we want to make sure that people come back to Miami Beach. They've had a great experience there, and we won't let a little hurricane or tropical storm ruin that for them. And evacuation centers are not the most comfortable places. They're not warm and fuzzy. There's no pretty pillows late waiting for them and chocolate on the bed, and no one's going to change their sheets for them and wash them. So we want to make sure that they come back. So we asked, and we don't recommend that you evacuate guests and tell them to, hey, go to evacuation centers. They're not going to like it at all. They shouldn't shelter in place unless, I can't even think of a reason why they would need to shelter in place, because you're all going to make sure that they get out in enough time. This is just to emphasize one of the largest evacuations in the state of Florida, which was during Irma when it was coming. I can't imagine being stuck in that mess there. That's horrible. This is a slide that we use just so that you can have a visual on how much time it takes or how many folks it takes that we have to evacuate and the time. So in A, let's take B because that's where the beach is. The risk area is 47, a little over 471,000 people. And adding guests on there as well jumps that cumulative roll up pretty high. It takes 32 hours to clear the beach alone. And in certain areas, we need to clear them first so that the traffic can flow north. So evacuating when asked is very, very important. I won't dig into that. I'll just show you some pretty pictures. We all know the Brickell downtown area. It looks like that a lot. And this was when Irma was 90 miles away. One of the things that the mayor mentioned in her presentation earlier was that we have our severe weather readiness guide. It used to be called the hurricane readiness guide, but there are severe weather. We are in severe weather season. We don't just deal with hurricane season. One of the ways in which you can stay informed, and your guests, if while they're here, can stay informed during this time, is to download the Ready Miami-Dade Gov app, which you can get off of an iPhone and an Android. And it contains these safety tips that are here, as well as when an evacuation order is called, any bus pickup points, and you'll get real life information when you're looking at that particular app. Phone numbers, websites, so that you as well as your guests can follow social media and what the latest is that's being put out. And there's a little mini hurricane guide in there too, just in case you misplaced yours that day. This is what our new guide looks like. It looks like our old guide, except it says official severe weather and emergency readiness guide. And it has all of these topics of content in there for you guys to be able to look into. Now, this is from Miami-Dade, but these practices, these suggestions, they go for wherever you live in South Florida, where you're at the threat of, severe weather. So we have a rainy season, and it's approximately 155 days from May to October. We officially have our second, what do you call it? Our second extreme heat season. So we try to make sure that we're all vigilant and that we keep you guys vigilant, especially because this is the time where we're going to have flooding. As mentioned a little bit earlier, we did just have some severe flooding. in their guide, as well as we do presentations on severe heat from our heat season, which starts May 1st and runs through the 31st. And it's important that if you like, you get trained on how to recognize heat risk related illnesses, because you're around people all the time and your staff may not understand what someone that's suffering from heat illness looks like. So just, reach out. We can help with that as well. The main points are that storms can develop late, forecasts change. Pay attention to what we're saying when we're talking. Pay attention to the weather service. They know what they're talking about. Coastal communities, of course, are at risk, greater risk, and are always the first to evacuate and should always be the first to evacuate, especially based on that picture I showed you with all of that traffic going on. Once the storm has passed and power restoration begins, there's a critical infrastructure list that's managed through FP&L. And on that list, as a tier 1, meaning the first ones that are going to be put back online, are hospitals, public safety entities, water treatment plants, and pump stations, which makes sense. And then tier 2 are dialysis centers, ALFs, nursing homes, and blood banks. Life safety things first. And then FBNO will get to the rest as they come on board. Lastly, I want to make mention of the FIFA planning that we're doing, just to emphasize that we do plan for everything. I think it was the mayor, or maybe it was the city manager, who mentioned, the beach being a part of all of these great things that are happening. We've been planning with the beach and everyone else for the FIFA Club World Cup, which starts on the 14th of June. It's 8 matches. It's every other day. And we've been planning for a year, and we've been obviously planning for the World Cup. What's important to know about that is, being hotels, different sports cultures are, they encourage watch parties and parties in general. And if your hotel is hosting one of those parties, or you learn that night that you're hosting one of those parties, it'll be important to pay attention to, who's there, what's going on, and stay in touch with us in emergency management and in your Miami Beach emergency management staff as well, so that there's always going to be some type of support and preparedness there. And as mentioned a little bit earlier, police, fire, everyone is on board and on deck. We've been to so many sports trainings so that we know what to do. We're watching videos from the other countries so that we know what's encouraged, all to make sure that everyone is safe and that people still have their great guest experience as well. And we're preparing and are prepared for FIFA World Cup, which begins in June. And we will be involved in that as well. And you will too, because you're on the beach and everyone loves the beach. And with that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And once again, please drop any questions for any of the speakers in the chat, and we'll hopefully have some time on the end. I do want to piggyback, because I know there's been a lot of conversation about World Cup, Club World Cup. By the way, the next 15 months, we're not only going to host those events, but we're hosting college football championships, the World Baseball Classic. The championship is coming back to Homestead for NASCAR. And all these events, and I know World Cup is going to be the massive one, will bring a lot of folks to our community, a lot of visitors, a lot of emergency planning that's happening throughout the county, and of course on the beach itself. So with that, I did want to introduce Sherry Lipner. She's the deputy for the Emergency Management Division for the city of Miami Beach. But I also wanted to emphasize she's really been the driving force and of this get together. She kind of herds the cats. And the pandas, I can see, and she's been an amazing partner to not only the Convention of Visitors Bureau, the Hotel Association, the county, but to the industry, to ensuring that we are properly prepared for the season. So Sherry, thank you so much for everything that you've been doing for many, many years. So take it away.
Thank you, Rolando. I appreciate those kind words. I didn't know you liked me. Good morning, everyone. I will share my screen. This is always a weird process. Give me 1 second. I think we're good. There we go. Everyone sees that?
Not yet, not yet. So we're
Oh, I did what I did last time. I know what
okay, that's all
happened.
right.
I know what I did. I didn't hit that button. There we go. Now you should see. There we go.
Bingo. And if you want to
Okay,
run
now
the
you
show,
should see it.
perfect. Thank you, Chuck.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for staying. I am the last speaker, so I hope we get all of our information in. And of course, there are you can ask any questions in the chat. There were a few that I saw have come through already, so thank you for your participation. Um, Everyone looks at Miami Beach and even just the thought of Miami. A lot of people think South Beach is Miami. It's not. We correct them all the time in the city. And they think of beautiful beaches, the azure seas, the beautiful intercoastal, and either no clouds or some rolling clouds that look beautiful, maybe a thunderstorm in the afternoon. But we also have to deal with these hurricanes. The picture that's to the right of the screen shows Idalia and was it Harvey and Idalia at the same time in 2023? They were both churning very, very close to South Florida at the same time. So that was quite harrowing for us. And as Ryan had mentioned, we are vulnerable at any time. One thing that wasn't mentioned is that even though hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, hurricanes don't have calendars. Hurricanes don't know what day it is. And if conditions are right, they can and will form any time of the year. Historically, we've had hurricanes in months outside of hurricane season. I want to emphasize evacuation. That is something that we in Miami Beach take very seriously because the evacuation orders absolutely affect us. There was a question that came through earlier. Do hoteliers and a hotel staff, must they evacuate? Are they required to stay back? An evacuation order is an evacuation order. We don't use the term mandatory because nobody's going to come into your place of business, to your hotel, to your home, and pull you out and make you leave. But the decision that's made to put an evacuation order in effect is fraught. It's not a flippant decision. The National Weather Service speaks with the policy group at the county, and the decision is made there in conjunction with all of the jurisdictions that would be affected by it. So our city manager, our mayor, our fire chief, our police chief, and even our city attorney and people like that are part of the policy group, as well as their counterparts in the county that make the decision and confer with us. So if an evacuation order is made, it means that there is enough of a consideration of a risk that we need people to leave. Even the people who actually do stay back, this is a little bit of inside baseball, it's a skeleton crew. It's a skeleton crew of public safety people and people who protect our infrastructure that will stay back. Our 911 call center would still work. However, with a skeleton crew and a smaller staff and with a hurricane raging, the chance of somebody responding, if God forbid you have a heart attack or you have some sort of medical emergency that needs immediate attention, those responders may not get to you as quickly as you would like. And that is why we tell people to evacuate. And we also think of the recovery process when we do it, because the power could be out. And even though we have an excellent relationship with FPL, if a power grid is so badly damaged, it's going to take as long as it's going to take to get it back online. So that's why of all of the pieces of hurricane preparedness that hotels should be considered, is evacuation is at the top of the list. So if you have a large enough property and you have sister properties inland, if you can relocate your guests inland, that's what we suggest you try to do. I know that's a big ask, but have that in your planning. As Sherry mentioned, all of Miami Beach is in a storm surge planning zone. That means that when the calculations are made and they're considering storm surge, which, and Sherry showed you a graphic that represented that, can be pretty devastating to a lot of properties, especially first, second floor. Most of Miami Beach, as she said, is zone B. We're in zone A. We make a concerted effort when the planning is made for evacuations. We consider the number of tourists. That is why the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau has a seat in the EOC, because they are part of the discussion. So sometimes, even if there's a little bit of uncertainty about timing, tourists will be asked to evacuate first. We like to ask people to go home because it's not going to be sunny South Florida, and come back afterwards. And as Sherry said, we don't want them in evacuation centers, because it's going to be a very stark contrast to the beautiful hotel rooms that they're staying in, to have to sleep on the floor in a gym. We went over this, but this kind of shows a little bit more because it's pixelated. Miami Beach is entirely in zone B. That's the golden orange color. The very tip of South Beach, Key Biscayne, and Fisher Island are all in zone A. Typically, when an evacuation order is called for zone A, they also include zone B. So your responsibilities as a hotelier are to perform a risk assessment, develop your emergency plan, make sure that everyone in your team and all employees are informed about the plan. It helps them as well. And to create your emergency response team, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about all four of these points a little bit closer. So assessing your risk is to, first of all, identify your risk and hazards. Hurricanes and flooding and severe weather are at the top of the list for hazards here especially in Miami Beach, but in South Florida in general. Look at your property, identify the potential areas of impact that may not be able to withstand something like a 5-foot storm surge, or flooding from the street, or torrential downpour of rain on the roof. Make sure that you and your engineering team knows what your property can withstand. Understand the financial impact should things go awry. Understand the severity of risk. There's levels of risk, and you determine that knowing the likelihood. There's a whole process. You can do that for your continuity of operations planning, which I think I will discuss a little bit more. NFPA 1600. If you go online and you search NFPA, that's November Foxtrot Papa Alpha 1600, free PDF. There is a one sheet that basically has a checklist that can get you started with your continuity planning. And planning is very, very important. You don't just react. That's the thing that we teach in emergency management, and we try to encourage everyone to do, is if you're prepared, you're halfway there. If you know who would be responsible for what, when you address things, and how you're going to carry that out in your pre-disaster planning, you will be fine. Having policies and procedures is great. I think it was Harry Truman who said, and I may be attributing this to the wrong person, that plans are nothing because they sit on a shelf and they gather dust, but planning is everything. So review your policies. Don't just create a policy and then set it aside and say, okay, I did that. Review your policies with staff, adjust and adapt. We had to adapt several years ago when we were dealing with the pandemic, as far as how close people could be to each other and different procedures that we were doing. This says disaster declaration. A disaster declaration will come mostly from the federal government, but there are other steps. Our city manager has the authority to declare an emergency in the city. And if there is an emergency declaration in the city alone, that triggers all sorts of actions that we can take on the city, and gives more authorities to the city manager and to the people that are working in emergency response. So after that, the county would likely declare a disaster, and an executive order would come from the governor for a disaster. Now, that's not an expectation. Those are steps in a process, and they sometimes don't make it up all the way to the highest point, depending on the situation. But here in South Florida, and specifically in the city of Miami Beach, we have plans in place to take care of any emergency situation. Again, speaking about business recovery, that NFPA 1600 can get you on your way for your continuity of operation plan, and then plan for some sort of a post-disaster review and an improvement plan. If something happened to your property, how are you moving forward? Please do check your insurance levels and understand what kind of risk you are taking. I had said before, inform all your staff, speak to everybody about what your plans are. There have been occurrences. This actually happened in a hotel in the Caribbean where where the stewards out by the pool area were told to clear the pool deck of all of the furniture and any loose items, and they placed them inside and then blocked an egress, which was very dangerous. So you have to have a full concept of what you're trying to achieve when you give your directions to your staff. And they should know what the policies and procedures are. People should have assignments prior to storm season so they know what they're responsible for. And training and test them. We provide here in the city of Miami Beach, and stick around, I'm going to talk about that as well. We provide training for your staff as well. As Ryan mentioned, find a trusted source of information. If everybody is getting information on certain social media sites from non-trusted sources, that could wreak havoc. You need to have information, as Ryan pointed out, from trusted local news sources, from the city and the county official social media sites and official means of communication, and get feedback from your staff as to what they think they need. Very, very important. If anybody on your staff, as important as you think they are to preparing for a storm, to the work that has to be done, if they don't feel comfortable that their homes and their families and their households are safe, they are not going to be there 100% for you to prepare your property. So it's really, really important to consider your staff. And the fact that the county tries to inform and evacuate our guests in the hotels and our tourists here in South Florida as early as possible, that means that you're going to have to get into action as quickly as possible. So it's very, very important that all of your employees have their own their own plans and their own means of protecting themselves, and that you give them the time to board up their houses or do whatever they have to do before they have to start working to prepare the property. So I spoke before about your emergency response team. This is something you can do this with or without training, but we do offer training. If you would identify 5 to 8 team members, depending on the size of your property, who are the people that are the go-to people that are part of the planning and the response we're going to use hurricane as an example, but this should be for any hazard that could affect your property. They should represent various departments. I would recommend somebody in management and somebody from engineering at the top of the list. They are the primary go-to team for all emergencies, as I said, not just hurricanes. And they're responsible for the preparedness and the response measures. And the reason we say 5 to 8 team members is because if in the event of an evacuation, the city has a program that we haven't had to implement, and I'm knocking on wood, but we have a program. If we evacuate and we start to let people in based on our re-entry plan, and if it is the worst storm, we are only going to let 5 to 8 of your team members back into the city in our tiered approach of re-entry after a storm. So those people have to be prepared. We need their names, what their titles are, and some identification, which they will carry with them to allow them back into the city when we open the city back up to certain tiers. The people that are on your emergency response team should be familiar with the disaster plan. They should be able to perform some sort of damage assessment. They should be able to walk into the property and recognize what went wrong. Sometimes damage is subtle. So somebody who is really familiar with the structure, with how the plumbing works and how the electrical works, they need to be there. Speaking of, turning on and off the utilities. In some cases, you may need to turn off your water or turn off your main power source in the event of a storm. If it's coming directly at your property, it could be a problem. And then they're able to get the utilities back online, provided it's not an FPL grid issue. They need to secure the building structure if needed. So, we are concerned that, if doors or windows have blown off, that, you need to do that. And you would report back to the Division of Emergency Management. We will keep track of that, and we let the police department know if there are any structural issues or any areas where security could be breached. And getting your people ready is very, very important. So we provide an ERT training. There's the final slide will give you the information, but you can send an email to dem@miamibeachfl.gov. Call the number on your screen, 305-673-7736. We can set up a training for your team. You can either come here to our Emergency Operations Center, or we'll come to you at your facility, provided you have a room that's large enough to accommodate however many people we are training. The training provides all sorts of interesting things like disaster preparedness, team organization. You go through medical operations. You actually go through a simulated triage with disaster victims. You are taught how to do light search and rescue, and even some fire suppression. Those of you who like to play with fire hydrants, not fire hydrants, I'm sorry, fire extinguishers. There's some fun there. And then once you have been trained, you put those people on, you put the 5 to 8 people on your emergency response team, who will then be the people that are responsible, that the city recognizes to come back in the building. Again, that's in the case of real devastation. I know during Irma was our last evacuation, the last time there was an evacuation order issued, and the entire city had to evacuate. Most of our hotels did comply very well, and we did not have to initiate our reentry plan to let people back. So there wasn't a need. Everyone could come back after, I think it was a day or a day and a half, and then people were back. And I'm sorry, hold on a second. Irene, I can hear your voice. I'm sorry, there was a loud person in my office. And I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so we maintain a database with your hotel information. I'm going to show you that next. And we keep track of the people that you have assigned to your emergency response team. So it's your responsibility to update the form. We don't keep track of, who has left your organization or not. Every year during hurricane season, we are swamped with the information that comes in from you. We appreciate that. The earlier you get it in, the better. Sometimes if a storm is looming, some of the hotels do at the last minute start sending in information. We would hope that you don't wait till the last minute. So if you go to our website at Miami Beach FL, all one word, FL for Florida, miamibeachfl.gov, G-O-V, the Emergency Management Division is under the Fire Department. So you go to City Hall, you look for the Fire Department, and then under Emergency Management, there is a page called Reentry After Evacuation. You can register your property. This is open to hotels and condominiums. And we ask that you fill out the form that's on the page. All residents and businesses should be carrying identification to allow them in. It's probably a good idea, just in case of a very, very large storm. We in emergency management are professional pessimists, so we think of the worst all the time. Have a form each year, a letter written out saying, this is my employee, Their name is, their title is, they are part of my emergency response team. They carry that with them with their driver's license and even a pay stub to, to prove that they work for that entity. I can't speak for the police department, but depending on circumstances, they can be very strict about who they may or may not let in. Now, talking again about personal preparedness, we have it in the opposite direction of the way Mayor Levine Cava announced it, but it's all the same. Have a plan. Make sure that you have a plan. Make sure that you build some sort of a kit to keep you safe and stay informed. So your plan, first and foremost, should be, where are you going to evacuate? And that's personally, but for a hotel, if, like we said before, if you have a sister hotel or you have other hotels that you can work with that are on the mainland and they have availability to send your guests to that hotel to ride out the storm if they're outside of an evacuation zone, do that. We prefer that they leave town because that's just more people that have to be cared for. But if they want to stay and you get them, there should be a plan for where you're going to put your guests. This is something that we're addressing at the tabletop exercise that Mayor Minor and Manager Carpenter discussed earlier. On June 17th, we are holding an evacuation exercise at the Miami Beach Convention Center. There is some room for some hotel participation. If you're interested, it's the same email, dem@miamibeachfl.gov. If we have enough room, we will invite you in to be a part of that. We'd like a little bit more hotel participation. The scenario is going to be a large, an international sporting event is in town, and all of our hotels, thankfully, are jam-packed. We have near capacity at all the hotels, and there's a storm on the way. That's the scenario. How do we handle evacuation? It would be your chance to see how other cities, because this is a multi-jurisdictional tabletop exercise. We have people from Key Biscayne, Surfside, Bal Harbor, even Fort Lauderdale. The county is, of course, involved. They're involved in our planning for this tabletop exercise. It will be June 17th in the morning. Again, if you send a request to dem@miamibeachfl.gov, we can get you into that meeting, hopefully. Building a kit. This is just a consideration of the things that you need to put in your personal kit, but everyone should have some sort of a kit to keep them safe. And as we said before, these represent reliable sources. If you text MB Alert to 888-777, you will get official alert information from the city of Miami Beach. The county also has their Ready MD. And I want to thank you for your interest and your participation this morning. This is the information on how to contact us at the City of Miami Beach Division of Emergency Management. For those of you who are outside, have properties outside of the city of Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County also has a similar program to ours. It's all part of the CERT program, the Community Emergency Response Team program. They can also help train your teams in your hotels for their emergency response. So thank you very much.
Sherry, thank you so much. And I know this question came up last year, and you may have mentioned it, and perhaps I missed it. That training is offered at no cost to the hotels?
It is absolutely free of charge. The hardest part about that training is scheduling. You mentioned herding the cats. It's like herding cats because this seems daunting. It's a 24-hour presentation. We don't hold you hostage for 24 hours. We break it up. However works for you. We can do it 3 8-hour sessions. We could do 6 4-hour sessions or 4 6-hour sessions or any other combination. The last day is a hands-on training, which is always fun. And then there's a little graduation. We play pomp and circumstances and everybody graduates and it's fun. But then you are part of a communication line with the city of Miami Beach because we offer additional trainings after that. So it's very, very beneficial.
Wonderful. And by the way, Sherry, I couldn't help but notice that you are a hurricane based on that diploma on your desk. So maybe you were destined to do what you're doing because you are a hurricane. alumni. Hey, there's a question in the chat. I think we've answered most, but someone was asking about the emergency response registration, Sherry, that you just alluded to. If a hotel has a condominium component, a tower, do they need to do a separate registration, or could it be one and the same for that whole complex?
Is that a yes, Irene? That's a yes. Yes, do the different properties separately.
Okay.
And
right,
if you have multiple, if it's one management company with multiple properties, we, as of yet, don't have a way to really break that up with one registration. We prefer that you do it separately because we treat them by address, not by management team.
Great, great. Hey, I do, again, we've got a few minutes left. I know we're booked to 11:30, and I think we've covered most of the questions that were presented in the chat. And I know that we have about 100 folks on here, and it can be unwieldy, but if anybody else wants to pose a question in this open session, or if they want to drop something in the chat, they're more than welcome to do that before we sign off. And of course, thank the partners. And Sherry just put in the direct link to the City of Miami Beach's website. So just follow the guidance, Sherry.
I do have one housekeeping item. I know that our IT department is doing some updates on our website. There is a chance that at least over the weekend and maybe into early next week, you may have issues filling out those forms. Please be patient. If it doesn't work, just come back a little later in the week and fill out those forms.
Great. Is there, and Allie, I don't know how we would do this, but if there's anybody that wants to just unmute and ask a question or raise their hands or drop something in the chat, please go ahead and do so.
Yeah, they could just unmute if they want.
Okay, okay. And if not, we'll start. So I'll just share a few words and I'll turn it over to Curtis to kind of, as partners on this, we'll sign off in a few, but I did want to thank the partners. Needless to say, I've been with the organization. I'm one of those that remembers 1992 and Hurricane Andrew, Ryan. So I've been in this community practically my whole life, and it's ironic because the difference of where you're at in this community can make all the difference. And we know Andrew, and I think Ryan alluded to this, that was going to hit kind of downtown City Miami Beach, and then it kind of veered south, and it impacted the Homestead area primarily, even though we were all impacted by that dramatic Cat 5 storm. But that was just another great example of, even as much as technology, and that's 1992, and we've gotten that much better. And of course, Ryan is the scientist, but even that is an imperfect science. So, you know, that the preparedness, just when you think you're out of the cone, in the cone, and I know we're sure, you know, that you always have to be prepared, and especially in our industry, and especially with our guests, which aren't familiar with what hurricanes and tropical storms can be all about. So I don't see any other questions. So with that, wanted to thank, obviously, Sherry, the City of Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County. Ryan, thank you. But I also wanted to thank all the participants. We had more than 100. And I know there's many others that will receive this information through the recorded session. Thank you for not only being a partner of an industry, but leading the way and ensuring that we are as prepared as possible, including our guests. So with that, Curtis, would you like to share a few closing comments, and then we'll call it a morning?
Yes, Rolando, thank you so much. And again, as just reiterating a lot of what you said, Rolando, thank you to everybody who's patiently been through today's call. Sherry, thank you for everything you do. Sherry, I look forward to meeting everybody in the near future, hopefully under better circumstances. But yes, preparedness is the key. As a previous GM, you know, I've written a lot of hurricane manuals and unfortunately been through some unfortunate storms here. So really take the time, use this time while there's nothing currently out there, and you know, get yourself prepared. Go get that extra water, go get your extra supplies, make sure you have your backup gas for the generator. And I wish everyone the best. Let's hope for a wonderful and safe summer. By all means, reach out to us at the Hotel Association as well. If you need any guidance or any support with maybe an outline of a hurricane plan. Again, I've been involved with those many a time. So Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. And just one last quick note, Holly dropped in the chat a link to the Red Cross emergency app. So that is another great resource that some of you may want. And we'll package all that, and we'll do a follow-up with the videos and the presentations and all these links. So thanks again for participating. Have a great weekend, and most importantly, have a safe hurricane season. Take care.